Hello and welcome to the Ready to Be Heard podcast. This is the podcast about getting your voice out there in the form of a podcast so that you can get seen. You don't have to keep churning out constant daily content anymore and can finally use your voice to spread a message, grow your authority and build your business at the same time. And I am Chantelle Dyson, aka the Clever Content Creator. After I went through the exact same situation, I was a life coach trying to grow and couldn't keep up with all the different algorithms, making all the pointing, dancing videos at the era of 2021. And I wanted to go deeper than those pieces of content did. So I came up with the podcast, The Single Girl's Guide to Life, and managed to get my message out there that way. Built a business out of it, running events for single women. And the podcast grew to over 100,000 downloads in 2 years. And it has changed people's life. It filled some of the programs I was running and has helped women to overcome their loneliness. And I know you have your own version of whatever that is that you are trying to get out there in the world. Now, some of you have been here for longer than this and you're like, I don't know what this podcast is, Ready to Be Heard, never heard of it. And that's because this is a new title for the podcast. It was called Big Vision Business Owners. All those episodes still stand. But that was when I first went into this and realised I had a bit of a messaging misalignment. I knew what I was doing, but as with all of this stuff, there was always a bit of done, not perfect. And I'll get onto that concept for today's episode in a bit. But I wanted to just get the content out there. I wanted to get testing. But it's always felt a little bit not quite there. But I didn't stress over that. I just got on with it. But now we are ready. We are ready to be heard. I'm ready to be heard. I was already to be heard anyway, but I'm ready to be heard in this version. And it all feels like it's starting to make sense. And so we are back. We're back with that very clear focus of getting you ready to be heard, of getting you ready to get your podcast out there, your message out there. And I want to start with why it's so important that you use your voice to get heard right now. Because using your voice to get heard is not new. We have seen famous people doing it for a long time. Figures, clear figures, big figures have used their voice for speeches, for change. And we know there are some of the most incredible speakers out there, whether they are big time celebrities and well-known people, or if they're just people that are in your world that you look up to and go like, if I'm gonna talk, I want to talk like that. I have those people in my own life. But in 2025, attention is the currency. Being able to be noticed, being able to be seen is what's really going down right now. And the problem is we have AI on our heels at the moment. You can create whatever content you want with AI, flick of a switch, tap of a button, type a few prompts in, and you'll get something. We can talk about whether it's good or not. But if we're talking about just getting content out there, it's quite easy to generate something, anything. And hey, the more content you put out there, the more likely you are to get seen within reason. Again, we will talk further on those kind of concepts throughout all these new podcast episodes that are coming. But it means that the only way to be unique is to use your voice and your story right now. AI is moving so quickly, exponentially so. If you don't even use any kind of AI model in your life for anything at all, ChatGPT being the most obvious and most basic one, but I was alarmed this week when I was at Parkrun with my pals and we had heard from Vishen Lakiani at the Expert Empires event. Myself and my partner had heard about the concept of AI. Now we're up with AI at least to some degree, like it's not fully integrated in our lives, but I use ChatGPT on the daily, and not just for my job, for the things that they're saying we're using it in 2025. Therapy, not loneliness per se, but you know, if I'm feeling a bit down, I don't want to always bog my partner down with that, so I just ask ChatGPT. And if you've never used it in that way, it is the biggest cheerleader you could ever ask for. It's mad. So to me, it's ingrained in my life, and that is what Vishen Lakiani basically confirmed. But I mean, open my eyes even more to where it's going. But my friends from Parkrun haven't ever tried ChatGPT. Sorry? I've been using that thing, I would say, for 2 years. 2 years, I imagine. There are people out there that haven't used it yet. And obviously I'm surrounded by many people in the entrepreneurial space creating content. So maybe it's fallen in our laps and been more obvious as to what to use it for than two people working in the education system right now. But it is moving quickly. And so we have a duty somehow to make sure that content doesn't get muddied. Because is AI a threat to content? Yes. But it also can't create original thought. It can only use what it already knows. It can only take that data. And when it comes up with kind of new ideas, it came from somewhere, is my understanding of AI. So the best thing that we've got, and I think that people are going to want once they clock on to what is AI, even when AI gets really good, is they're going to want real. And they're going to want you. And they're going to want true stories that cannot be made up, that can't be told in any other way. And that's just me setting the scene for this episode. We are not going to go into the depths of AI on this episode, but it really is something that we have to think about. But when it comes to your business, we've got other elements to look at. Right now, you might be on the edge of talking about your topic, of putting a little post out there to start getting attention. You might already do a little bit of it. Post on Instagram, post on Facebook, but maybe they're carousel posts. They're not you and video. Now, obviously doing a little reel is the first step in that. But in whatever format you tell your story, in whatever format you use your voice to get some attention and get seen, the silence is currently keeping you safe. But it's also keeping you invisible. As every day passes where you don't share your story to make the world a better place, to get noticed with what you're sharing, to avoid bringing together a community of people that need your story to know that they aren't alone, to realise that there is a way through, you miss out on having impact, on using something that was challenging or really blooming hard, and actually using it for good. And it can also come back to this element of not feeling ready, like the safety of, well, I'm not ready yet, and I've got to get it right if I do it. I told you not 5 minutes ago that this podcast has had a different name up until this very point. I never let the name stop me from giving the podcast a go. I never let it stop me from putting content out there. Yes, I did stop the podcast for a bit because I was like, oh, I've hit a bit of a wall right now. And so I'm going to try some other methods of content and creation and work with what I've already made because I hadn't leveraged all of it yet. But we can get better over time, and we can't always make it happen to be more ready than we are. I never had the name for this podcast until the last 7 days. I've had different names in the middle that I thought about coming back with, but none of them ever quite compelled me enough to come back. And that's the same when we are thinking about putting ourselves out there in our content. Well, what if it's not great yet? What if I get it wrong? You have to get it wrong to get it right. And when it comes to leaving this, when it comes to not putting your voice out there, because it's safer, because it's easier, because you don't want to, it means you're going to be left overlooked. And it means not standing up for some of the things that you believe in, for some of the things that you think are right and need arguing for in a world where there are potentially so many wrongs going on, at least from your perspective. Like, I didn't want any single woman that is not in a relationship to feel that they had to get into a relationship again. I had gone through my divorce at the ripe old age of 26, and the speed that people had for suggesting I get back on the dating apps was not a healthy response. It was definitely other people's blueprint for, okay, well, you know, you're divorced now, you can go back out there and date and find someone and then you'll be happy again. Sorry, what? I think we had an issue with why we got divorced after a year. I think we had a problem there by feeling that I had to be with someone and that determined the level of success. This is how we've ended up here. And I don't want that to happen again. And I don't want any person to feel that they are not happy because they're not in a relationship. And some people really do find that security and prefer it. I think you can always have a preference, but no one can guarantee you're going to find someone to be with. And I was ready to die on a hill with that perspective and to really talk about it, really boldly go in for it, because I believed in it. I still believe in it. Whatever relationship you're in, I want you to be in the best and happiest one. And I do not advocate for staying, ever. No, I mean, you might feel compelled to delay leaving, but staying, no. Even if it's not that bad, you're in the middle zone. But your voice is your value. Your voice is what you get to do to change the world. And by doing those things, you bring people towards you. You draw the right crowd in and you will get people opposing the other way. I didn't get too much. There was one video that I remember really went down the wrong community. And I had to turn off the comments. It just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth all of the ag. And that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to engage in conversation with people. The problem is that not all those people are willing to engage in a conversation. So you can't help when you put yourself out there online that, yes, you're hopefully going to be put in front of the right community. And sometimes you're not. And you have a choice as to how to deal with that. I love conversation. I love debate. But it has to be that. It can't be one-sided. Obviously, I present one side because I'm the one with the platform. I'm the one putting content out there. But when someone wants to back with me about a difference to that or a different perspective, I'll have a conversation with you. I'm very middle grounded when it comes to it. I can understand what you're saying. It doesn't mean I have to agree or come to the same conclusion as you, but I can appreciate a new element. And that's what I would encourage if you're worried about any kind of trolls coming along. Hopefully you're confident enough in what you're saying and what your truth is and what your story is. No one can actually question your story. They can't change your perspective of it. They can query if it's accurate. They can query, but what if? But they can't take away what you think about your story either way, and the beliefs you have. Same goes for everything. And all of this, I know that you'll be thinking, well, I'll just make content every day. I will keep putting it out there. I quite enjoy the creativity. I loved the creativity as well. It's fun. Some of the trends are fun. Some of the techniques are easy. But when it comes to a podcast and putting your voice into a podcast, you get to have just one piece of content per week across one platform that you can multiply to create this whole content system for you. And that doesn't mean you have to stop creating other bits of content, but it does streamline everything. It also allows you to take what's going on up here and put it into something succinct coming out here. What's in your head gets to come out of your mouth in a long form way, in a way that starts to connect with other people differently to a short clip. Short clips often get attention, and we need that. We need that as part of a promotional strategy for getting noticed online. Sometimes it's just the way those algorithms work. But after that, we need ways of nurturing people, of taking the ideas further, of connecting on a deeper level. You can make sales, you can do business with short form content, and your podcast is going to give you some of that short form content. But if you're anything like me, that short form content falls short of doing a proper job. Because when I was going through the throes of my divorce, I didn't want all the little clips. I was knee deep in personal development. I was reading books for 45 minutes a day, if not more. I was listening to podcasts on the way to work and on the way home from work, and whilst I cooked and whilst I went for runs. I wanted constant depth. I couldn't be scrolling 5 seconds, 10-second videos all the time, or even minute-long videos. I needed someone talking. I needed concepts being explained. I needed new ideas. And the most effective way to understand that, to get nuance, to get that deeper understanding, was to listen to podcasts. Your clients, your potential future clients, are probably people that listen to podcasts because they want more information. They don't have the time or the situation to be scrolling short form videos. They're people seeking answers. They are people wanting more than just scrolling TikTok and Instagram all night. They're looking for that depth. So as much as it benefits you, it's going to benefit all of those people that listen. And I sit there, and whilst the Single Girl's Guide to Life, now known as the Single Spark, doesn't produce episodes anymore, it still gets 100 downloads a week, 400 odd downloads a month. That's wild to me that I haven't produced anything for a couple of months. I did a season not long ago just to top it up. I had something to say about a few topics. So I threw some more out there, just a little selection of 8, I think it was. But since then, it's still trickling through, still going through. Those episodes are still there to help people. And I still get DMs, I still get comments. I bump into people I haven't seen for years from school who came across that online and it helped them in their world. No, I don't run it as a business anymore, but I love that that's the legacy that is there. I pay $5 a month to keep it alive. It's making a difference in the world even when it's not my focus anymore. And we think about that concept of, who's going to remember us when we're not here anymore? Hey, somehow I'll keep it going in whatever format of metaverse we're in by then. It'll be interesting to see how everything goes over the next 50 years. But just to have known I've made an impact on people's lives, and possibly there's something in being able to adapt it so that it continues to do that for way beyond my years. It was me marking that chapter of my story, of sharing it there and then. I couldn't have done it now. I couldn't do it to the way I did it then because I'm no longer single. So I had to do it then. And the same goes for this podcast. You have got all of those old episodes that I put out where I didn't quite feel ready, but I did it anyway. Or I didn't have everything quite nailed, but I did it anyway. So you can see what the difference is in how I'm talking. You can hear what a good episode is and a bad episode is. Go have a listen and go judge it however you want. I think there's good in all of it, I'm not going to lie. But the journey is there, and it's your story, your documentation, and your key to not having to create content every day. It gives you the choice. It unlocks some time back in your life. If you can get out there, back to create your podcasts and create something that in 2025 will stand the test of time if you keep working on it and get it right. So if you were waiting for a sign to get your podcast started, this is it. You can have a listen to all the episodes you like, but if you want to get a shortcut, you can always head to the show notes and head to buy the podcast in a day course that I have. People get their podcast out as soon as a weekend, sometimes 7 to 9 days. Others buy it just so they've got it and sit on it for a little bit. But we have had podcasts created quickly that start the process to get it out there. They don't worry about being perfect. They just get it started and then go from there. This is the time. I've made it as simple, easy and straightforward to do so that you don't have to worry. You can just get going and start getting perfect later. Until next time, keep changing the way the world thinks, one podcast at a time.